Welcome to Driving Cultural Relevance with Dr. Akumbu, bringing you culturally relevant, multifaceted conversations and reflections intersecting education, entertainment, and business, committed to DEIB and cultural capacity building. I'm Dr. Ruth Vitsemmo Akumbu, and today I will reflect on the similarities between Hispanic heritage and my heritage for Hispanic Heritage Month. I believe that we are more alike than we are different. In this session, I'm going to emphasize belonging. How do you feel like you belong in a group? So, for those of you who do not know, I am originally from Cameroon. I've lived in the United States for about 20 years. And the most exciting moment that I had in my early years, in my early days when I arrived in the United States, was being offered food that I thought was similar to what I grew up with. And what I was offered was pear. So when I was asked if I wanted pear with my breakfast, I've only been here, say, 5 days in the United States in a house where these people had never traveled. And I was very grateful for their hospitality and to them offering me pear for breakfast just made me light up, like I was in an environment that I was not used to. So that was something I could connect with. That was something that was similar for the first time after I arrived that I could really relate to. So they bring out bread and they bring out pear and they bring out, I think it was toast and pear and a cup of tea. And I look at the pear and I just could not figure out why the pear looked the way it looked. I pick up the pear and try to cut it. It was really hard. I realized this is not pear, and I tried to bite it. Yes, it tasted completely different. I went to the store the next day, I saw pear, and I picked it up and I said, hey, remember when you asked me if I wanted to eat pear or for breakfast? And I said, yes, this is what I was looking for. This is what I was expecting. And what I was expecting was avocado. It was not pear. So it's pear for me in my culture. But in the United States, it is called avocado. So that was my first cultural shock. Another quick story is I was living in a house with 7 girls or 6 girls, included myself. And one of them was African-American, born and raised here and from the South. She cooked greens. And I had not seen a lot of the foods that I grew up with. So when she made greens, I was very, very, very excited. I bonded with her a little bit more because of those greens. Because even though we lived in the same house with other Minnesotans, I'll call them, or other Americans, white Americans, the two of us were blacks. We were both black, but I connected more with the white Americans than I connected with her. But the day she cooked greens, oh, we connected. We really connected on that day. The reason why I didn't connect with her just from the beginning was that I didn't see anything we shared in common. I went to church with the other girls. She didn't go to church. We didn't really play music in the house, so I couldn't tell if we would like the same kind of music. So there were just little things here and there that distanced us instead of bringing us together. So even though we looked the same, we didn't have a lot in common as much as I had with the other girls that were white American girls. So that said, the day that she made greens, I totally bonded with her. We had great conversations about food, about the things that connect us. And it was such an amazing time to just bond with her over food. So when I talk about belonging, I want to emphasize that belonging is talking about acceptance, talking about security, support, inclusion, being identified as a member of that group. Now, I'm going to show you why I would belong in a Hispanic or a Latinx home. Let's start with the food. When I look at the heritage that the Latinx community have, or the Hispanic community have, I always feel like I would belong in any of these homes, and I would not struggle as much because there's just so much with the food. Take, for example, tamales. Tamales is one of my most favorite, tamales is my favorite Hispanic or Latinx food, right? And in my tribe, you could easily mistake it for what we call ndu. So the way it's made is just similar to how to ndu, except we don't use, it's not as sweet. Some of them it's not as sweet, but it's the same concept, placed in the same kind of leaves. Well, most people we use plantain leaves, but they use corn leaves here. So tamales are in corn leaves, but the concept is the same. So when I see tamales, I always get tamales, especially the sweet corn. I have a sweet tooth, forgive me. So we call it ndu. And it's also mirrors or mirrors. It also mirrors koki, what we call koki. It's not exactly the same, but it's the same concept. So the food is the same concept. The second thing is roasted corn. Elote, I think it's elote. So roasted corn. We don't have everything put on top of it, but it's just the idea of me walking down the street and seeing roasted corn. It makes me feel like I belong with these people. And I just want to cross the street and buy some roasted corn, which is something that I would do if I was in my tribe or in a city in Cameroon. Tamales, no, we talked about tamales, so empanadas. Empanadas is, when I see empanadas, I think meat pie. So might have different ingredients inside, same concept, meat pies. It just makes me feel like I belong. Now, this one is a little bit hard for me to say. Tajadas. So tajadas, forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, tajadas, that is fried ripe plantain. You have not lived until you've eaten fried ripe plantains with beans. Well, maybe that's like one of my favorite things to eat, fried ripe plantains with beans. So whenever I see Latinx food or food from a Hispanic background that has fried ripe plantain in it, I just cannot help myself. If I have to just take the ripe plantains, I'll take the ripe plantains. I think Jamaicans have a really, they have a lot of ripe plantains in their meal too. And I always love it. And it goes with the beans and the rice. So another one that I noticed is the rice and beans. the Hispanic style of cooking it is mixed. I didn't catch the name. I have to maybe find the name, the rice and beans. It's mixed. So, but when we cook it, we boil the rice, and then we fry the beans, and then we put the beans on top of the rice. And then if you have fried plantains, you put fried plantains on the side. Ah, so yummy. If ripe plantains or even boiled plantains, but boiled ripe plantains, yummy. Tortillas. So I love tortillas. So tortillas in this community have been commercialized, I would say. Growing up, tortillas for me, is the bottom of the pot when I make fufu, corn fufu in particular. So when I make corn fufu, if I cooked it well, where I didn't let it burn, it cooked exactly how it's supposed to cook, there will be a layer at the bottom of the pot. And that layer at the bottom of the pot is what is similar to tortillas. There are days that I have made fufu, and basically my share of the dinner was the bottom of the pot. I love it. Like, I don't care if I go hungry after cooking and giving to everybody. If I only have the bottom of the pot with the tortillas underneath it, with that layer, I will be happy. So if the layer doesn't come out exactly how I would like it, I would put the pot back on the fire on the very low heat, and then just let it dry off. Sometimes you cook your fufu and you cook it so perfectly that there's actually no hard layer on the bottom. So I would just leave that very thin layer that is left, because it's going to be a layer. So I leave the thin layer with on the fire and put just a little bit of heat and just let it dry out. And then I crack it up and then I eat it, right? So that is my tortilla. So when I go into a restaurant, or if I see anything with tortillas in it, if I see tortillas and a serving of tortillas, it always reminds me of my heritage. It reminds me of growing up in a village. It reminds me of when I would cook fufu, right? So that is why I say I would belong in a Latinx home, and I would not feel like I am not a part of the group. I totally will feel like I'm a part of the group. So the next thing that I love about the culture that I think it's similar is bright colors. I wore my bright color today in honor of the Hispanic Heritage Month. I wore my bright colors. So I love bright colors, and I love seeing bright colors on the Hispanic people. I love when they wear the bright colors. I think that is another thing we have in common. So as far as dressing is concerned, and that's all I want to say about that. Now let's go to the music. I remember at one point, before I really got into Afrobeat, I would only listen to the Hispanic channels. I could not hear a word they were saying, but I love the music. I love the music because of the rhythms, the drums, the beats, just how high beat the music was. It just made you want to get up and dance. Now, I would challenge you to find a couple of Afrobeat music and listen to it, or African music and listen to it, and try not to move. Try not to move your body. If you don't move your body, then my goodness, I don't know what to do with you. But when you listen to this music, or Latinx high beat music, or you listen to African music or some of the Afro beats today, you are going to dance. You are going to move. You have no choice. Your body cannot help it. It's like that movie Home, where the aliens come and invade Earth, and the younger plays music, and the alien start moving without even try to hold his legs down. Can't hold his legs down. You just have to move. You know, that is the music. That's the kind of music I'm talking about. And I just love Latinx music for that. So it mirrors. I can understand why there is such a relationship between the African music and the Hispanic music or the Latinx music. Let's consider slave trade and how cultural travels traveled during that time, and you would. I have seen videos of dance moves or music in from South America or Peru that I basically thought that music was people from the Congo, like the Pygmies, like Southern Cameroons and things like that, and places like that. So when I listened to the music for the first time, I was like, oh, this is Pygmy music. And then the guy said to me, the person who shared the video with me said, no, this is music from South America. And I was just it was mind blowing, but at the same time, it makes sense. A lot of the Black people in South America came from Africa. So traveled from Africa during during the slave trade period. And they preserved their culture, they preserved their music, and they preserved a lot of things, which even today we can still enjoy. It's fascinating. It's fascinating to look into and actually explore the journey of music and the similarities that African music have with South American music or music from Hispanic and Latinx communities. So I don't have too much to say on that. But I want to encourage music lovers to explore that and see Afro-Latinx music, they call it. Explore Afro-Latinx music. It is quite fascinating to see the similarities. And if you're African, explore it and just see the similarities that we have. That is why I keep saying we are more alike than we are different. Even with slave trade and culture evolving over hundreds of years, there are so much that has also been preserved that keeps connecting us to our roots and making us more alike than we are different. What other things? I would like to leave from this, the food, the dressing, the music. These are what I call surface culture, or most cultural experts will call surface culture. I like to always go a little bit beyond, which is the beliefs. So beliefs, let's talk about religious beliefs. Religious beliefs, one thing that I know from just watching different movies is that there is a very strong emphasis on spiritualism, life after death, the spirit world, right? So the spirit world. So these are similarities that are not only found between the Africans, but it's also found between the African American, and it's also found between our Hispanic communities. So rituals is one of them. And with this also there's music, there is food. So the interconnectedness of these cultural elements, you can always see them back in their religious beliefs. So you will see food when it comes to religious activities, you will see music, and you will see maybe specific dressing when it comes to the religious beliefs. So sometimes food is not just food. Sometimes dressing is not just dressing. Sometimes music is not just music, or a song is not just a song, because it ties back into the person's beliefs, their religious beliefs, which is what your beliefs is what actually in some way define you, or allow you to have a deep value system, which is what informs a lot of the things that we see on the surface. So there's rituals, and usually there's a priest or a priestess. in some situation, you will see the priest or the priestess get possessed by the spirit just to transmit a message, right? We're not here to argue the credibility of this or whether it's right or wrong. We're here to show how we are similar, how the things that I can relate to, because I grew up seeing these things. If I didn't practice them, I saw people practice them. Even no matter what, we're not here to debate what anybody's doing, whether it's right or wrong, what somebody believes, whether it's right or wrong. What we're here to do is celebrate our similarities more than anything. We are more alike than we are different. We are more alike than we are different. So, like I mentioned, life after death, rituals, ancestors, priestess, songs, ritual songs, and ancestral worships, all of that ties into the type of religious beliefs that you can see across the African continent, among African Americans and some African Americans, because some are strictly Christian, some African Americans, and then the Hispanic community. Now, when we talk about beliefs, I want to just go a little bit out of the cultural realm and enter into a more modern realm of beliefs, as in religious beliefs, as in conservative religious beliefs or Christian beliefs. Most I noticed that more Catholicism is very big in Hispanic communities, and these Catholic values are tied more to conservative values, and you would see that an African American, an African, or a Hispanic American could easily have the same values if they share the same religious beliefs as in Christianity. You could see the similarities in how they live their life, what they believe about society, the morals in the society, the values that they carry, and how they even vote, right? Their political views also are going to be influenced by these core beliefs that they carry because of the connections that they have with Christianity. So when Christianity unites them, or their religious Christian belief unites them, you see that they move now as a community. They move now as a group. They belong now together instead of different. Their skin color might be different, but they now belong in that group where they share the Christian belief, where they share the community, the political views, or their beliefs will influence how they vote or how they look at life and the issues in life in society. So going back, I've said this before, Black people are not a monolith, Hispanic people are not a monolith, and even white people are not a monolith. So there's just so many diverging things in society that causes people to become part of a group or not part of a group, depending on their skin color or not on their skin color, or on their beliefs and their values and their morals and the practices that they hold together, the things that interest groups or political groups or religious groups or cultural groups. So there's just a lot of different things that allow us to either separate or unite. So if we look at our communities, all these groups can actually allow us to see how similar we are and where we intersect, and how we can build from where we intersect, and how we can celebrate together based on where we intersect, whether we intersect in food, we intersect in dressing, we intersect in music, we intersect in beliefs, or we intersect in political views. All of that are things we should celebrate and not allow to divide us. And if we don't intersect, where can we find common ground? Where can we find common ground? All right. That is the question I would like to leave with us today. Where can we find common ground when our values, our beliefs, our music, our clothing, our hair, our food diverges? Where can we find common ground? Because we are more alike, because we are more alike than we are different. There is always a place to find common ground. And I want to challenge us to always find common ground and celebrate not just our differences, but how those differences make us better, a better society and a better people. Thank you.